Hi there and welcome to another episode of Dangerous But Good. I'm Craig Wilkinson and I'm particularly excited about the guest I have this morning today, Seth Mazibuko. He's a giant of a man. He's the Chief Operating Officer of the Moral Regeneration Movement. He's the founder and head of the Seth Mazibuko Foundation, and he has the most amazing story. Seth is a living embodiment of history, the history of our nation, history that's so important to know. I met Seth not long ago. We were called to be on a panel together, and Seth went before me, and after I heard a bit of his story, I said to the moderator, I'm relinquishing my time. Please give my time to Seth because we need to hear his story, and he's got so much to say. I'm deeply honored and very excited to be with Seth. He's a man who's small in physical stature, but he's a giant of a man. And he's a dangerous man. Seth, as you know, this podcast is all about being dangerous to the danger to society.
Yeah.
You know, what I was so touched by you is that your whole life you've been dangerous to the danger. As a young man, you were involved in the struggle. And now as I won't say an old man, but an older man, you're still involved in the struggle, but fighting against the things that are dangerous to society. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm humbled and thanks for inviting me. And I hope we can get more of our people getting very dangerous.
Absolutely. Dangerous to the danger.
We need to really get them to be dangerous to the danger.
Absolutely.
And having said that, I'm humbled. I'm very humbled to be a part of this. I don't just like to call it a podcast, but a movement.
It is a movement. It is a movement.
And it is a movement that is really, we need more of such movements.
Absolutely.
And particularly when we speak on issues on, moral regeneration
Yes.
and rebuilding our country.
Yes.
And I remember when we met, the story I was telling to the young people, it was a story of my life that I lived in 3 stone ages.
I love this.
I know that you wanted that.
The 3 stone ages. I mean, they're beautiful.
Yes.
Please share with us those 3 stone ages.
The 3 stone ages, Craig, my first stone age, it is when at the age 15, I was elected into becoming the deputy chair in the committee, what was called Action Committee, that planned and led June 16 March.
Wow.
My chair was Tsietsi Mashinini, who is known whenever you speak about June 16. Then this piece of flesh was then deputizing Tsietsi. Now, here was a 15-year-old on the 13th of June in a hall called a DOCC YMCA in Soweto, Orlando East, where there were students coming from all over Soweto. Then are saying, this one should be the deputy and should be the leader.
Right.
It was that meeting of the 13th of June that then led to students taking out to the streets on the 16th of June. And us in that action committee leading that march. It was in that day when students fought against bullets using stones. It was that day, I hope today I'm not going to cry.
You're allowed to cry.
But
I might also cry. So this is beautiful stuff. So feel free, man.
It was in the day, Craig, that here's another one. A day before, on the 15th of June, I just turned now 16. So on the 16th of June, that's just one day after turning 16.
Right.
But it was a terrible way of celebrating my birthday and my becoming a 16-year-old boy, because around me, it was blood. And blood, I say this all the time whenever I get it to be interviewed about June 16, that I'm still hurting, but I'm able to deal with it.
Right.
Great, particularly in platforms like this, having people asking me to tell my story. The first confrontation with the police was on a tear gas canisters that were thrown on us. God was great because the wind was blowing back to them police. And they got very agitated. I know we laugh about it now lately. Actually, we do. Even that time we were laughing about it. But then when the police saw that now they were not well positioned, they then started unleashing dogs on us. And again, God was great. There were stones around. And we killed the dogs. I'm sorry, SPCA, and I'm sorry to all the dog lovers. I still do love dogs. Maybe I'm making up for those that I stoned on that day.
You don't love the ones that are trying to kill you.
I don't like the ones that will kill people.
Yes.
I don't like the ones that will kill children. And after that, Craig, another group of students were now coming behind the police. And the police thought we were sandwiching them. And that's the time now the police now released live bullets on us. And I know that many of us know Hector Peterson in that June 16 picture as being the first victim. Actually, he was not. He was the second. The first one is Hastings Ndlovu. And it was on the day at that time when police were now shooting to kill. And Craig, what touches my heart and pains me deeply is we're having old people shooting at children. Hector Peterson was only 13.
Wow.
And I remember Mrs. Winnie Mandela and a lady called Sophie Dima, who was a reporter and a journalist, when they were taking the body of Hector Peterson and other children into cars to take them to the nearest clinic and all that. That very evening, we counted 111 bodies of children in the mortuary at Baragwanath Hospital, and bodies that were just piled up. And what was said was that some of those bodies were still in school uniform. Now, how does a 16-year-old sleep that night, having counted number of bodies, those bodies that he was given a responsibility to lead
at that young age?
At that young age. And Craig, that is when that which I call Stone Age, number one, when we're throwing stones against the police. And out of that throwing stones. And again, we were dealing with a system of apartheid that was very dangerous. So maybe we had to be also dangerous against that.
Of course you did.
And Craig, my era of 1976 as that young person, I always say this to people, I was never young. I don't know what it is to be young.
You had to grow up very quickly.
Very. I know that the young people I work with, I always tell them that the days of my youth were microwaved. And I became very old and again, circumstances and situations that were dangerous called for me to then take up
and Seth, you
that position.
Stepped up. You stepped up.
Yes.
You didn't step back. You stepped up, and that's so admirable, man.
And after that, Craig, I was kept in solitary confinement for 18 months, tortured, and kept, as I say, in solitary confinement, where, I would take a cup of coffee when they give you coffee, even porridge on the ground, so that I must get ants to be around to keep me busy for the day. Wow. You will invite flies into your cell so that you can keep yourself going for a day.
Astonishing.
After that, Craig, I was then taken to Robben Island. I was sentenced to Robben Island for 7 years. Now in Robben Island, I was breaking stones.
So from
throwing stones
to breaking
then I
stones.
went to breaking stones in the quarry. And then I'm humbled, by the way. I've just got a gift. I was a speaker on Robben Island speaking to students from UCT and other places. And Robben Island gave me a gift of a stone that we're breaking. It's quite humbling and quite a reminiscence, quite a way of thinking back. And, and I'm humbled by that. Now came the time when 1994 came in South Africa. Oh, by the way, whilst I was in Robben Island, I finished off my matric behind bars. I got my first degree in education behind bars.
Wow.
So I was able really to confront that situation at the time and make it a point that now maybe I'm making myself more dangerous to danger.
Right.
And, because you've got to arm yourself.
Yes.
That's why I like this sitting that we're having today, because it speaks to this, that now, how do we, as a nation, as individuals, how do we make ourselves dangerous to danger? Absolutely. And I subscribe to this. Maybe when we get to talk to that, I will then pick up some few points there. And when you do want to become dangerous to danger, you'll have to arm yourself.
100%.
You've got to do it education, you've got to do it facts, you've got to do it prayer, you've got to do it in every aspect.
Right. Become more powerful, become stronger, and use that to fight the danger.
Then I moved out of that breaking stone era to a stone gathering era.
Which is where you're at now.
I'm there now. I'm running now
Gathering
that
stones.
movement. That's why I'm sitting here today. It is because now I'm even saying to young people, guys, we threw stones for you. Don't do it anymore. Gather stones for the reconstruction and development of yourselves, your communities, and South Africa.
Right.
Just recently, I was speaking to young people again. I speak a lot with young people. And then I was saying to them, let's talk about the South Africa we want. And is it a broken South Africa? Is it a dangerous South Africa that we want to build? Young people, let us now ask Seth Mazibuko, where did you throw those stones? Then maybe I'll point at those stones. And then we can take them together to come now and use them to build a new South Africa. And that is why I'm here. It is that process of gathering stones that I'm in now. I was just telling you earlier on and saying, the Seth Mazibuko Foundation has just come up with a very strong motto of encouraging courage.
I love it.
Through conversations and conviction.
You can see
Don't ask me what did I learn my rhymes.
The English teachers coming out here.
So we're starting to also, to me, these conversations we're having today are courageous conversations. And to me, these are conversations that we need to encourage courage so that when you face those dangers, you can deal with those dangers.
It's beautiful.
Now,
but Seth, can I mean, we as a people, and I think this is global, have a tendency to brush the past under the table and say, well, let's just get over that and let's move on to what we need to do to build. But the process, I mean, firstly, I cannot say how much I honor, respect, admire, and appreciate you for what you've done, what you've been through, what you've experienced. I mean, you talk about solitary confinement as a teenager, pouring down your coffee so that you can get ants for company. I mean, this is mind-blowing stuff. I mean, we can't just tell that story and then move on. I mean, that is, it's the kind of stuff that very few people globally have ever been through. So, I mean, how do you move on from that? I mean, firstly, we have to honor, respect, admire, salute that, sacrifice what you did. We can make light of it. We should never make light of it. It was painful. It was devastating. It was evil. It was wrong in every possible way. And yet here you are, able to have a sense of humor and able to gather stones and able to move on. I mean, how on earth do you do that? I would not know how to do that because I've never been there. Many people haven't. How do you do that?
Great. let me assure you,
Yeah.
I never went through peace and reconciliation. To me, that commission was more of Act 1, Scene 2 cut.
Right.
And I did not want to identify myself with that. But as a country and as a people, we must never want to brush some of these things under the carpet. We need a platform. Part of those courageous conversations
Yes.
must touch on those issues that we sweep.
The reality of them.
And let's touch this, feel them. And let Craig feel how it was for Seth at teenage level. At teenage was behind bars.
Yes.
Let our young people who might not even know anything or any experience about imprisonment because of politics, let them have the feel. And this must not just be an issue of pigmentation. It must be an issue of performance. Here's my PP.
Yeah,
I know that you love that.
It's not about pigments, it's about
not about
performance.
pigmentation. It's just about I don't look at what pigmentation does Craig have, but I look at what are you doing, Craig?
Yes.
What comes out of your mouth? What are those things that you do?
It's the Martin Luther King, isn't it?
Exactly.
You don't judge by the color of your skin, but by the content of your character.
Exactly. But let's go back. I think we need at some point, some of these 3 Fs, friendly and frank and firm
Yeah.
conversations.
Right.
Our conversations should be friendly. We should not seek to promote animosity.
Right.
No, but we should be able to say, look, we are doing something and we did something,
Yes.
or your fathers did this.
Yes.
Now we are here. Never, Mandela's words, never again.
Never again. Well, it's the truth that
And-
sets free, isn't it? Seth? The
Exactly.
truth sets free.
And that is what I think, as part of our reconciliation, a program that we should follow. That is, I wouldn't be here, Craig,
Yeah.
if we're going to frustrate my telling it as it is.
Yes.
You know what I
Yes,
mean?
yes.
Because it will then be meaning I'm sweeping everything under the carpet.
Right.
But if there is a movement, a podcast of like yourselves that says, let's just talk about these things.
Yeah.
Let's confront them.
Yeah.
Then that makes me comfortable.
Well,
You'll rather kick me out here for having said something against you.
but Seth, the sheer horror and brutality and evil of it, we must embrace that and acknowledge it. And then, from there, and once again, it's not something I could ever talk to because I've never been there or done it or been through what you've done. How do you then get to where you are now, where you're gathering stones? Because it's very easy, and look, I deal a lot with gender-based violence, and you see people in the youth who've been abused by their fathers, tragically, and the only way to live a life is to not give that any more power. It's to overcome that. A lot of people get stuck in being a victim, and it destroys their whole life. So what you're doing is giving the power to the abuser to destroy your life. You have not done that. I mean, in spite of unbelievable abuse, you have not done that. How do you do that? I mean, it takes a very powerful, very dangerous man or woman to be able to be bigger than the tragedy of their past. And I mean, you've done that, and that's why for me it's such an honor to have you on this program, because you're a living embodiment of something that I cannot speak to because I haven't been there.
I believe that sometimes you can use the pain that you've been through, use it as a power to deal with your situation. I use the pain that I went through. As I said, I've never been young. The space I occupy now is mostly a youth, space. I work with a lot of young people. And to me, it is that power that I used or that was used against me I'm going to use it now with these young people to say, to use your podcast and say, young people, let's just be dangerous to the current dangers.
Right.
Now, you take what other people might have wanted to do to you to bring you down or to make you powerless, and use that and say, I always say when I speak, again, whenever I address young people, when I was on Robben Island, maybe wherever Jimmy Kruger, who was the Minister of Justice and Minister of Police and Prisons at that time, when you took me at that age to prison where I hardly had a size of a uniform that fitted me, where I had to deliver messages to different sections, sometimes hidden in an industrial port and be taken around to deliver messages, I can assure you that when I studied, I was empowering myself.
Right.
Wherever Jimmy Kruger is today, should be saying, oh God, I was trying to disempower this one. He is now empowered.
Right.
Yeah,
that's powerful.
This is it. And then you make Jimmy Kruger jealousy, even in hell, because I don't think he's in heaven. And, no, he's not in heaven, definitely. Heaven doesn't want such people who take kids to jail, But where I'm coming from, Craig, it is that how do I use, the pain I've been through for empowering
I love that.
the current or the people are living? If I was, let's talk GBV, and one doesn't actually encourage this. I mean, if I was raped or something has been done, I'm not going to go moaning about it. Let me say, how do I use that when a person has so much violated me? Right. How do I use that to actually make sure that no other person gets violated? Am I making sense?
You are, Seth. There's one thing I want to delve into though. I look at you and I see a man who is completely free from bitterness. And one of the most inspiring things that
bitterness will never make you better.
I know. There you go again with your alliteration. There you go again.
But please, bitterness will never make you better.
I know.
I always say, you've got to be very careful. You can take your bitterness to even maybe sometimes, as I was saying all along, make other people or make yourself better.
Right.
I'm sorry, I know that you know me, I like playing with some of these.
With the words, alliteration, yeah.
And it is not, but it is just to say to our people, there's also power in words.
Yeah.
The words we use, we can become agreement, silly. I'm still facing the current political environment through, for instance, Moral Regeneration Movement, fighting against the current corruption. I'm not friends to corruption.
Right.
I'm no friends to political parties that are undermining our people. And no, I'm no friends. And I tell it as it is. And I would rather go out there. That is why I'm still in Soweto. When in 1994 we got our freedom, our democracy, not freedom yet, and a lot of people rushed to want to be in parliament. A lot of my peers rushed to become BEE. I refused. I said, I will remain with the people that made me.
Right.
I will remain with the people that empowered me. And let me now empower them back. That is why you had to come and fetch me in Soweto.
Well, I'm so glad I did. You live in a heritage site.
Yes, I was humbled by the city of Johannesburg and the Heritage Foundation, and they declared my home as part of the June 16 route and heritage route. I was very, very, very humbled, and let's not talk about that. It's not important.
It's well deserved,
Yeah.
Seth. Well deserved. I mean, someone such as yourself needs to be honored for what you've done, what your family done, what the sacrifices, and we don't want to forget that. We never want to forget. I want to please just press into this one more time. Nelson Mandela, when he was released, he was asked by journalists, you must have remembered this, are you bitter? Are you angry? And he said to them, I've been in jail for 27 years. If I remain bitter, I'd remain in jail. I want to be free.
Yeah.
But how do you do that? How do you rise above such injustice to be free from bitterness? I know bitterness doesn't get anyone anywhere.
Yeah.
And they say that unforgiveness is like a poison that you swallow and you hope it's going to hit the other person. Yeah. But how do you do it? I mean, it's not something that many people are able to do.
It takes quite a lot. I took my two daughters and son to Robben Island. And in my taking them to Robben Island, the whole purpose was to let them go through the experiences I've been through.
Right.
I spent the whole weekend with them in the cell where I was kept for the 7 years. My daughter came out there, my second one, still bitter to date and angry.
Because of that experience? Because of what her father...
Is this what my father went through?
Right.
How on earth do I forgive people who kept my father under such conditions at that age? Now, but then coming back, then I had to then start sitting her down and say, look, I was dangerous, using your word. I was dangerous than guys who were a danger.
Right.
And you cannot expect to go through that comfortably.
Wow.
It takes a lot of, as I say, pain. It takes a lot of you gathering a lot of power to be able to go through that. So it's not going to be a situation where, and the other thing is that, as I was telling you, that sometimes I do get into my bedroom corner and cry and say, I've maybe wasted so much of my time. Maybe I'll be like my peers now, driving a BMW or, owning. But I said, no, I would rather. And it helps me even now. Part of my healing process is that I'm able to see people living in shacks and be able to go out there and say, we can do it.
Right.
Can come out of those shacks.
Right.
We'll do it our own way. I'm able to stay without electricity for a week and then be able to say, no, we'll go to ESCOM, we'll go to them, we'll talk to them.
Yes.
And I'm sitting here. I remember I told the young people that you and I were addressing that I'm sitting here, I'm on a 10,000 rands bail. And that bail man was paid for by senior citizens in Orlando East. When I got arrested after leading, not now the June 16 march, but the senior citizens march against ESCOM. So this leadership in marches seem to be my thing.
So Seth, you're never going to stop being dangerous. Eh? Whatever's out there that needs to be fought, you're going to fight it. Eh?
No, I graduate. my being dangerous gets graduated all the time. But you were asking about Mandela. I must say this. There's a very interesting one that I always like to talk about. Whenever we talk issues, ethics, issues, values, and all that. Mandela in 1997 had this to say. And I'm coming to introduce one other topic after this. We're just coming out as Moral Regeneration Movement. We're just coming out of a conference. And then our theme now is confronting unethical behaviors.
Right.
Becoming dangerous to unethical behaviors. Interesting enough, that Mandela says it was actually extracted from Mandela's this unethical behavior. He says that this is in 1997. He warned us on unethical behaviors, which he says they negate the fundamental objective of democracy. What I like, he listed them, and guess 1997, he listed some of these unethical behaviors. And tell me, if don't they fill up that bag of what we've got to deal with that is dangerous?
Right.
Corruption.
Number one.
criminality, tax evasion. You see what I mean? Then it comes venality, theft, disrespect for human life,
Right.
fraud, rape, the abuse of women and children. Are we not dealing with this now? And unbridled self-gratification,
Wow.
drunkenness, extortion, and family breakdown.
Wow. Prophetic, eh?
Very, very. And much of it touched by violence, the outward forms of diseases, social climate, which affect all of us. Now, we're still having a full bag of all these things that Mandela talked about there.
Yeah.
Isn't this calling for us then to unite as a powerful force of now becoming danger to these dangers?
100%. Brothers and sisters, unite against.
And it is that time when we are now dealing with this, we say no pigmentation but performance.
Right.
And it is when we deal, it makes me comfortable if we see people dealing with this, because it tells me that now we are gathering stones.
Now we're gathering stones. And we're gathering together.
Exactly.
You know?
When we started this conversation, you asked me, where were those stones? Huh? Now we are saying, let's find the stones together
Yes.
and be able to rebuild a South Africa.
Right.
And that to me is very, very important. And that to me has not made me too much of friends to those who fall in one of those that Mandela came up. But
and there are too many, aren't there? There are too many who fall into that category.
Yes, I am not, and it doesn't have to be black to be right, white to be wrong.
Right. Well, Seth, that point is something I'm very passionate about. For me, a great man or a great woman is someone who's able to see the wrong in his own tribe, whatever that tribe might be, and the good in the other tribe. Because I think it's also in essence said that the line between good and evil runs through the heart of every man and every woman. Every one of us is capable of good and bad.
Craig, if I was just to even take this conversation to another level, and that is the political level. And this I've asked to many of our political leaders. Why are you doing this to even your own? We are a black government.
Right.
Why are you still giving water to people, water that is contaminated? Why are you giving people houses that get flooded every month? Why are you giving electricity that gets, why are you doing this? If there was one thing with the Afrikaner that they did where they looked after their own, then I say to them, it's unethical what you're doing.
Right.
And it's dangerous.
Yes.
And it has got to be dealt with, you know how.
Dangerously.
No, but my point is, Craig, I'm coming to your point. Danger doesn't have to have color. No. And danger doesn't have to have a religious group, a race, danger is danger wherever it is. Unethical behavior is unethical behavior wherever it is. And you'll be surprised that we even practice unethical behavior against each other more than we do with, we're South Africans,
right. We're human beings.
You and I were talking about the rugby team as we're coming here. And I see those guys on a scrum. I see those guys passing a ball. I see those guys running. I see those guys pushing the opponent and get out of our way. We want to go to that winning post. Why are we not doing that as a country?
Right.
Why are we not using our energy as a country? Why are we not picking up some lessons? Leave where they come from, but just say, there's energy there. These guys are also, to use the podcast, are really confronting danger.
Yes.
And they're doing it together. And they're going for it. Now, Craig, I think the other thing that actually, another engagement that we need to get into, and I'm going to go back to another quotation here. and this might be slightly academic, but Professor David Kelly defines morals very well. He says, morals are beliefs people have about right and wrong. Have we, as this country, even sat down to say, what is it? We don't come, you could be Christians, you and I are Christians, and someone else could be coming from, but there are those remaining principles of defining what is right and wrong.
Eternal absolute principles that apply to humanity.
Good and bad.
Yeah.
And also people discussing their aspirations for their lives and the virtues they practice and the vices they denounce. I love that.
Yeah, me too. Denouncing.
Yes. Now, we've never had this codessa of saying, what are these dangers that we've got to confront? What are these unethical behaviors that we've got to confront as this country and as a society and as people that will look at us without having to look at us in any other form but as a people?
Right.
I'm strong on this, and I will forever. You've just now, unfortunately, invited a terrible guest because I'm going to be here all the time to say, how far are we?
Right.
How far are we? We should not just be a talk show. It will make me happy if I was challenging you as we're coming here that let's sit down and have, a talk with our boys, and I was teaching one or two things, how we pay lobola and and all that. But that to me, those are things that might not mean a lot to many people. But how do we get not just to talk about these dangers, but to act on them?
100%.
To confront them.
Yeah.
And not talk only about these stones, but gather them to build.
I love it.
And to me, then this time I've spent on this day with your listeners and with yourself shall have, to me, contributed well.
But Seth, share with us the charter has things that they stand for.
Yes, the Charter of Positive Values is a document, that we sometimes refer to as our Bible in the Moral Regeneration Movement. And this is a document that cut across race, color, beliefs, or whatever. And it was in any way put together by South Africans of different persuasions.
Fantastic.
And the very first value is promote responsible freedom, underline, responsible freedom, the rule of law, and democracy. Look how far in this country now we have. Somebody was even saying that now this democracy seems to be saying disregard law. We throw things around, we make towns dirty. It's just, we take over, there's something called what? Hijacking of buildings. Right. And we do all those things. We abuse women and all that. That is the value number one. Value number two, improve material well-being and economic justice.
Remove the inequalities.
Exactly. And then we have then the other one, enhance sound family and community values.
The family is the building block of society, isn't it? The family unit is the building block of society.
And maybe that's how I was even able to maybe engage with you. It is because to me and yourself, it was that family is more core.
Yeah.
And it is out of the family that we have the community.
Yes.
And it is that of the community that, I was meeting with some members of the Department of Education the other day. We are starting a project called Values-Driven Schools, building values-driven schools. And when we're meeting the trade unions were saying to us, look, we are not going to be able to deal with with what is happening in schools if you have not dealt with the families.
Right.
It is right. Okay. The other value is uphold honesty, integrity, and loyalty. You speak about that a lot.
That's beautiful.
That is
beautiful.
That you speak about. And then the other one, ensure harmony in culture, belief, and conscience. As we're coming here, I was talking to you and telling you that now, you don't know how much of a fruit salad we can be as this country.
Well, it's about...
You're an apple, I'm a banana, you're an orange. Oh, but taste us.
Well, that's about, we are the most diverse nation in the world. And that makes us the most beautiful nation in the world.
Unfortunately,
because when I see who you are and I respect who you are and I embrace who you are, it doesn't take away from who I am. But it enhances both of us.
I always want to say, no, don't touch me, I'm a banana.
Yeah.
No, don't touch me, I'm an apple.
Yeah.
That is killing us, Okay, if you don't want to be a fruit salad, be a mixed veg.
Or a stir fry.
Or a stir fry, why not? Yeah, so that speaks to that. And then the last one, which is the ninth value, protect the environment.
Right.
So these are the 9 values, and we also are, when working with the values, ask, people to come up with, programs and projects that speak.
That support those values.
Yeah, that support the values.
But Seth, look, if we upheld those values, we'd live in paradise, wouldn't we? We'd live in the best country in the world.
Wow.
This would be a beautiful place to live.
That much I can tell you.
So let's get behind them. Let's get behind them.
We will be a country that, I'm not saying we're not going to be, stepping on each other's toes. We know that's too neat. But we won't step on each other's toes, but we'll know how to heal.
Well, we'll never learn how to dance if you don't step on each other's toes.
Exactly. Right? So let's come together as a country. And I must, however, thank you for inviting me into this space.
Seth, it's been an absolute pleasure.
It is a space that I would like to continue, being in. And
well, this is the first of many conversations. And, I want to just reiterate, you are a giant of a man. I honor you, love you, respect you, and I'm 100% behind you in the Moral Regeneration Movement and the Seth Mazibuko Foundation. Courageous conversations with conviction. What do you say? Encouraging courage.
Yes.
Raising up a generation of men and women who are dangerous to the danger.
Yes.
To build a great nation. So Seth, you're a nation builder of note. You're a living embodiment of history. And brother, absolute pleasure spending time with you.
I'm humbled. God bless.
Any final words?
Guys, my fellow South Africans, the president would have said, this democracy came out of blood. And I'm always saying we don't need blood anymore.
Amen to that. Gather stones.
This democracy came out of stones. We don't need stones anymore. This democracy came out of bullets. Now we can use ballots. And we've just done it, And all I'm saying, when a young man called Solomon Mahlangu went down to the gallows, he turned around to his mother and said, Mama, the tree of liberation shall be watered by the blood of the martyrs. Go and tell that to my people.
Right.
I know that many of us might not be enjoying the fruit of that tree. Never mind the shade. But let us not cut down the tree. Let us water it with our sweat.
Amen. Amen to that.
Thank you.
What more can we say? That's it.